we've got something like 24,000 kids. So these are unaccompanied minors, I understand, who show up at the border. Tell me exactly, when they show up here, what are they seeking and what are they going to lose because the government's not paying for it?
These kiddos, UACs or unaccompanied migrant kids, by definition, are children who don't have a guardian. They are alone in the United States. They've come from another country. Many of them have suffered trafficking, other abuse, danger in their country, and they're coming here seeking safety. And they typically get processed in, put in a detention center, and ideally processed out to a friend or a relative who lives in the United States, although there have been a lot of complications with that because of the Trump administration. But another thing that happens to these kiddos is they have to go to an immigration court before an immigration judge to defend against deportation. And they're walking into a courtroom with a prosecutor and a judge, and they're expected to respond to the charges and the allegations in their court documents and tell the judge what defense they're seeking and put forward evidence. And they have no legal right, constitutional right to an attorney. And so historically, the federal government has funded nonprofit agencies to help these children in court. And that's what the Trump administration has stripped away, leaving all of these thousands of kids alone to defend themselves in court, many of them to face death or danger back in their countries if they are deported.
And otherwise, they don't have a constitutional right to legal help.
Yes, I mean that's one of the ironies of the immigration court system is that in this country we provide people who need criminal defense, indigent people in criminal court with free attorneys. But we don't do the same thing in immigration, even though immigration consequences can sometimes be much more severe than those in criminal court. And that includes these children. These children don't have another option. If they don't have a nonprofit to go in and represent them in court. It's not that they can't go to the county or the state or the government to help them.
So it's kind of interesting to me that they didn't have a constitutional right, but the government's been providing money to give them lawyers for, I mean, essentially for years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in practice for more than 20 years now, and ever since I've been around, there these nonprofits like Kids in Need of Defense and Acacia, there's a lot of nonprofits that go in and they not only do they represent these children in court, but they also provide them with a lot of resources. They might help them get reunited with family. They might help them know what their rights are, provide legal orientation programs. There are lawyers who go into these detention centers for children and they help them understand what all of this is and what's happening and what the process looks like. And without that funding, these kids are just left alone to face this horrible system without any support.
So also, they're not only terminating the contract, the government's not paying the money that's owed.
Right, that's another horrible feature of all of this is that despite the fact that the federal government has been given the Department of Homeland Security, I should say, has been given so much money by Congress, $70 billion, $130 billion, that they have stopped paying their bills to these NGOs who have continued to take care of these children and themselves gone into debt to the tune of millions of dollars for some of these agencies, and they're just not paying the bills and they're revoking the contracts and not making it right. And so I probably a lot of these agencies are going to have to shut their doors.
Well, okay, and then lastly, for the kids, assuming that this goes forward the way the Trump administration is doing, in other words, pulling attorneys, what happens to the kids?
It's if you've ever seen these kids, there's been some documentaries about it. These kids, many of them, I'm sure just won't go to court hearings. But when they do go into these court hearings, they won't know what to say or what to do, and they'll end up being put on a plane and getting deported. And I'm confident that some children will die as a result of these moves by the Trump administration. That is a certain outcome because they're going home, and they're being unprotected. They don't have a safe grown up, some of them watching out for them because of this funding cut.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to say that again because I can use it again in a different place. But you think, as a result of this, a lot of these kids are going to be just thrown out of the country?
Yes, as a result of these funding cuts, it is a certainty that many of these children will end up being deported, and some of them will also end up being killed.
Right. So, very quickly, what's the bottom line about them terminating the contract and not even paying the bills that are due?
The bottom line is the federal government, despite having received billions and billions of dollars multiple times from Congress, has decided to stop funding the nonprofit agencies that support unaccompanied migrant children. These are children who are alone in the United States. They don't have attorneys, they don't have people to support them. They rely upon the support of these nonprofit agencies to represent them in court. Many of these kids have traumatic histories of trafficking, abuse. They are asylum seekers, and we are leaving them alone to face the court system and what any other dangers they might face in this country, despite the fact that the agency has plenty of funding to take care of these children.